Hey, this is Wileen Benson, and you are on the Daily Gratitude Call, where we start every day in gratitude. Gratitude is the highest energy state that we can be in. It creates a frequency of positive vibration that attracts positive experiences into our lives. Hey everybody, this is Wileen Benson. This is our Daily Gratitude Call. Thank you for joining our call today. Just welcome. I'm really appreciative of all the people who are here on the call this morning live, and also want to welcome you who are listening on the podcast as well. This, I can tell, is going to be an amazing day, an amazing call. I started out the call with a little bit of a distraction. I had a text that I normally don't check my texts or my private messages or anything before the call. I usually do my daily GPS, then I do the gratitude call, and then I get to work. And this morning I had a little extra time, and so I had checked my texts and my private messages, and there was kind of a fire that I needed to put out. It was a situation that I had created because of not checking my email. And I had to kind of smooth things over, and was really, really grateful for a forgiving heart, and to be able to have a do-over. And I was a little bit distracted when we got on the call this morning before we started the recording. We were starting our rounds of gratitude, because I just was thinking about this person. And I finally was just like, you know what, can you guys just put on everything on hold for just a second? I got to take care of this. And I got in and, sent a couple of texts and did some things that I could just, okay, let go and let God. Just whatever happens is great. And then Crystal, when we were doing our rounds of gratitude, she shared something that was cool. And maybe you could share this in the Breakthrough with Gratitude group, Crystal, so that everybody will be able to check this out if they're interested. It's she put it in the chat here. It says, Drawn In is a fantastic resource for families of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to learn the gospel by artist, singer, actor, puppeteer David Bowman, B-O-W-M-A-N. So if anybody wants to check that out, I'm going to check it out. It sounds really cool. So it's interesting. I've been seeing a lot of creativity in the form of artistic expression lately. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but I feel like that has super increased over this past month, probably since the beginning of the year. And it's just, I love it, because I'm an artist, and I learned a long time ago, back when I was working with recovering addicts, that artistic expression, whether that be writing a piece of music or creating in the kitchen or doing a painting or, whatever, some sort of artistic expression, creativity is the best way to connect with people. And connection is the antidote for addiction. And so if you're creating something, you are listening for inspiration for what you're going to create. You're like, what should I create? And we don't typically go to our brain for that. We have to open ourselves for inspiration of what it is that we're going to create. And I know even when I'm creating in the kitchen, it's like I just open myself to what sounds good to fix. And I'll, as I'm fixing it, it's like, what, kind of spice. And I don't try to think of it. I'm just like smelling it. I'm tasting it, before it even is complete. And so there's this beautiful in imagination / inspiration from God that is happening. And so there's this connection to a higher power that happens when we're looking for something to create. And then obviously when we're creating it ourselves, we're going from that inspiration through our hands or our, body in some way to create that piece of music or that whatever. And so we're connecting with our highest self, that creator within us. And so there's that kind of connection with ourselves in the highest way. And then also when we share, so if you're not too scared to like put it out there and let other people see what you've created, then you've got a third level of creation. And those three, God, yourself, and others, is that gratitude triad that I taught back in, I think it was October. No, it was November, because that was the gratitude month. So that was our masterclass in November. And that is the most powerful, like when you think of that symbol, if God and me and others are, and that collapses into one, that is where creation happens. And so not only is it super powerful in, just creating, but it fulfills all the ways that we connect. And again, that is the antidote for addiction. So it's a lot, it's where gratitude happens. I'm grateful for what I've received. I'm grateful for myself for being able to express, and I'm grateful to others for receiving what I'm sharing. So it's totally appropriate to share that with here on the gratitude call, because it's the gratitude triad. Anyway, that was kind of a tangent, and I, or maybe like a distraction from what we normally talk about. And each of these things, me meeting with or seeing this text this morning and having that be a little bit distracting for me, Crystal sharing this artist, and that was like a little bit of a tangent. Usually we're just like, I'm grateful for this, but she shared something and I was like, we need to know more about that. So it was a little bit of a tangent or a distraction. And then, here we are today choosing what we're going to be grateful for. And I wrote the word distractions, but I'm wondering if tangent might be better. Just you guys in the chat, write which you would prefer, tangent or distraction. Which one do you feel would serve you better? And we'll just go by majority vote. I'm going to take a drink while you're doing that. Tangent, tangent. So far, we've got 2 tangents. Tangent. Okay. All right. We're going to do that. So that's enough to say that's what we're going to focus on. All right. So gratitude for tangents. I love it. All right. So I've got my timer set for 90 seconds, and we're going to do a private silent meditation on gratitude for tangents. And then we'll share. So get your paper and pencil ready. I'm going to set this timer or start this timer in just a second. Gratitude for tangents. Just write the inspiration that comes to you. Begin. All right. Give me just one second and get this last little thought down here. Okay. And that sigh was, as I was writing, I'm like, I woke up with a, this morning. That's when I was writing that. I was, my body just responded in that way. I don't feel that way now, but I woke up with that. And it was, it's interesting how my clients a lot of times mirror what I'm feeling, and it helps me to be able to kind of see myself through them. I had a client reach out to me yesterday morning, and she said, I'm drowning. She said, I feel like I'm drowning, and other stuff. And we talked, just through text a few times, and she felt a lot better. And, but this morning, I woke up this morning and I had that big sigh, and I actually felt kind of the same way. It's like, I feel like I'm drowning in all the stuff. And as I mentioned yesterday, January's kind of been an idea month for me. So I've been getting like tons of just things and things that I can do. And I put things on my inspired shortcut, at the top of my list, and then other things. My busyness has kept me from doing the inspired shortcut things. And this morning, as I woke up, it was like, okay, it's just today, I just get to go back and organize, prioritize, just kind of go back to old school, prioritize, and either do, delete, or delegate. And it felt really good to kind of let myself above water, just take a step back and just bring it all in. I got a pile on my desk that I'm going to be working on after the call's over, just to kind of finish it out. Actually, probably later this evening, because I've got some training calls today. But it just feels so much better. It's instead of like, it's like, it's a totally different feeling. And so it's nice to get away from the tangents, kind of take a tangent in a different direction, because I feel like that's what I had been doing. Like I've been too busy to take care of the tangents. And the tangents are like the shortcuts. They're the most important things, but I've been too busy to take care of those. And so now it's time to take a tangent from the busyness and to get back on track and get back to the easy way, the simple way. Colleen.
What you said was totally what I was thinking too, was, just even having some heaviness around you. You need to take that time to clear it out, to look at what is, because it does affect you, no matter how in my mind's eye, nothing affects me. I'm focused on Christ. Nothing else goes on. But you need to take the time to clear it up, draw it in. And I like Pilates a little better than yoga, because I can do it laying down, and I can transfer those exercises really easily to being on the mat for my knee. And a lot of them are to draw in the muscles around the knee to support it and to anchor it in the right spot. Because there for a while, I was so bowed out that even pushing a grocery cart with nothing in it was too much. The twisting of just turning it was I could hardly walk through a grocery store. It was really miserable. And I laid on my right side, and I drew in those muscles and straightened out my knee. And I noticed a change, and I can see the change now. It's not bowed out on my left side. And even though I am going to go ahead and get the surgery, he showed me how my bone has worn down probably about 1/4 of an inch on the inner part of my knee. But drawing in those muscles to support it, and knowing that you've got a weakness, and knowing that there might even be a weakness in your home, but to focus on drawing in that power, even in everything you do in Pilates, is to draw it up, draw it in, to strengthen the core, all of that is so is so valuable. And I think of Christ when he was a mentor for so many people, but sometimes he says, give me a minute. I gotta go clarify and really focus on my, on my core with the Lord. And it is so valuable to do those, just to have a tangent. No, I'm taking care of me right now so I can take care of others. I'm demanding it. I want this now.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that idea of just taking a tangent from from what's happening to go, fix something. I was thinking about like an airplane, if it is going to get lift, all the different ways that people were trying to build an airplane. There were some really crazy things, and then there were some that actually worked. And it's important for us when we're stepping out of the norm to work with the resistance, to work with the opposition, to work with, the physical laws of the universe and things like that, instead of, instead of having a tantrum, we're just taking a tangent.
And it does sound sort of like demanding, but it is demanding in a very powerful way.
Exactly. You're taking a tangent. You're not having a tantrum.
Yeah, and it's when you let it go and say, "Oh, I'll take care of this later." It weakens everything around you. So you've got to do that center focus. Because there for a while I was just riding my bike to strengthen my knee, and I wasn't doing the concentrated effort on even my core and everything that I needed to. I was thinking, oh, I hate those slow workouts. They just don't do that much, but it is so important. It's vital to do that core concentrated, tough exercise that just takes a lot of concentration.
Awesome. I think it's, good to mention here too, that inspired shortcuts are a tangent. They're a trip off of the main path. So, every day when we're asking for those inspired shortcuts, we're asking for tangents. So thank you. Tyree, and then I think Crystal had something.
So if you think about morning notes, when you get up and you just do a free write and download everything that's in your mind, it clears all of that space, that the busyness in your brain, it clears it all out, and it opens it up so that you can be in flow, and that you can be in flow with the Spirit, and you can be in flow with what you need to do, because you don't have all of those other things cluttering your mind. And also, when you take the time to write before you go to bed, it's the same thing. And so those seem like tangents, but you're writing down whatever comes in your mind, and you're asking to see how the Lord's hand in your life that day, and you recognize things that you wouldn't have seen otherwise, how he has been in your life, and how helpful that is to know how much God is aware of each one of us, and how he is aware of me. And so it opens up for flow, so that we're in the flow with the Spirit, like you said earlier, with all of all the creation. And so the tangents really aren't tangents. They often are the thing that we need to do. And it's just opening up to those things.
I love that, just kind of flipping it and seeing that the normal everyday is really the tangent. That's the physical things. They're the physical things that we kind of like have to do to live. And then all the other stuff that we're receiving to do, that's the path. That's, I love that. Also wanted to just share a quote. I can't remember where I heard it, but it was, I've always remembered this when you're talking about like downloading to clear space in your mind. The only useful vessel is an empty one. Like if you fill up a vessel with water, it's no longer useful. You've filled it up, so you can't put anything in it. And And I've often thought of that, as I'm downloading, all the stuff out of my brain to get it on to paper. It's now free to be inspired, to for God to use me in a different way. So it is really, and I do have everything written down. So it's like I can kind of forget about it, because when I'm ready, I can come back to it. And it's always going to be there. So yeah, I think then in a way it serves me. It serves me definitely, but in a way it empties my mind for more. So that's why it's important to go back and like prioritize and say, okay, this doesn't really need to be done anymore because I've got this new inspiration. Tyree, did you have something else?
If you think of how Charles Schwab, when
Mhm.
he went into Ford, or I don't even remember, whatever company he went to for the $35,000 list, how effective that was, because then they could they could write down in order of priority the 6 things they would do the next day. And so they were emptying their mind and freeing that space, and how much more effective they were, because they didn't just come into work putting out fires, but they actually came into work saying, okay, this is the most important thing. And they were so much more productive. And how, so that, again, that's just emptying creating an empty vessel, so that you don't have to think about that stuff all night long, so that you're also more effective at home. Anyway.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, that 6 most important things list, 6 most important things to do today. That was the $35,000 list. And I did that for years. And I still fall back on that in times like these where I've got way more than 6. I just am focused on the 6. I still do that. That's kind of back to that old school. Thank you. A lot of times the old school will bring us back to center when we allow everything to just kind of get out of control. Crystal, you had something?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm grateful for tangents because they're like a wonderful rest and a recess for my brain. They're part of the path. The path is not straight. It's got interesting curves. I mean, it's also frustrating because sometimes you just can't see like, A, B, C. It's like, why am I going A, P, D? And I've told my mom, like, I just wasted so much of my life, wasted so much time. I mean, why haven't I produced all these paintings? And she said, Crystal, nothing is wasted. Every trial, every experience, nothing is wasted. And I remember hearing this quote by Thomas S. Monson when he was looking back at his life. And I couldn't find it online, but the idea was so much of his life, he said, it seemed inconsequential, and but it turned out that it became it was inconsequential and incremental, but it turned out to be instrumental and monumental.
Wow.
And so I was like, we just have to trust God, because he can see our works, our great gifts we're going to give, and we just have to trust that some of these tangents are going to be part of our tool belt.
Beautiful. And, kind of going back to the idea that the tangents are the everyday life, and that the real path is, those inspired shortcuts that we're getting. The thing
I love that.
Yeah. And the thing that caused it, when you were talking about like these little things that we think are inconsequential are actually monumental. My little distraction this morning that was caused because I have not been checking my email every day, which is an seemingly inconsequential thing to just check your email every day, but it can create monumental issues if you don't do those little things every day. So yeah, they're both important. The inconsequential seemingly things are important to, we talked about this in the January masterclass, the law of convenience. You do these little things and it creates convenience for you later. And every once in a while we get a little reminder that it's important to do those simple things to create convenience for us later instead of creating distractions. Thank you. Any last thoughts before we move on to our permission process? Thank you, everybody, for sharing. This has been just a fun discussion. and help me to kind of flip the way that I see tangents and distractions. And I'm excited to go back and just really do my prioritizing. I've got everything on the list, and now I've just got to go back and do some prioritizing, and just super excited to do that. I just feel so much better than I did first thing this morning, and love this discussion on tangents. Let's go ahead and take another deep breath, and just smile on your face, and just feeling gratitude for it all. The main path, which is the Inspired Shortcuts, which is super easy, super simple, completely clear. And God provides everything on that path. It's like the path that the birds take and the flowers take, where everything is provided. And the tangent path, which is sometimes we create, sometimes just life creates, and all the beauty and variety that that path provides as well. And knowing that it all comes together in the end. Just like you were mentioning about Thomas S. Monson, he can look back on his life and see there were inconsequential things and there were monumental things, and they actually kind of all played together. And so everything kind of comes together eventually at the end. And we get to choose our attitude on both of those paths. And also sometimes we're at a fork in the road, and we can take the main path, the Inspired Shortcut path, or we can take the path of distraction. And knowing that we have a little bit more information now after this call to choose wisely, to choose the path that's going to be easiest and simplest and most efficient and beneficial for us and for everyone, because God, all things work together for our good for those who look to God. And so, me, my family, those people that I love, when I choose the path that is easiest, then everyone's going to be affected in the positive. I just had the thought that Inspired Shortcut path is straight, that is the straight path, and that the windy path would be the path of tangent and distraction. And so I invite you to see the Inspired Shortcut path as straight. It's the most efficient, it's the easiest, it's the simplest, and the most clear. Go ahead and take one more deep breath. And as you're standing at the fork in this road, and you can see the straight path, and might be a little bit darker, maybe there's a little bit of fear on that straight path because it seems a little bit too short or fast, and the windy path seems like you would have more time to prepare or whatever. Just take courage, and within your heart, and you can listen to your higher knowledge, inspiration from God. What is the one most important thing that you could do today? What's the one most important thing that you could do today? The most efficient, straightest path to whatever it is, wherever it is that you're going. And God knows. And just whatever the first thing that comes to you, trust that. Don't try to figure it out. And then I invite you in your mind's eye to see yourself stepping onto that path, and listen for any limiting beliefs as you're just even taking that first step. And as you're starting to see those limiting beliefs, just take a moment and examine those limiting beliefs. Whatever those limiting beliefs are, they are going to affect your experience on this path, or they might even ward you off of that path and have you go back and take the longer route. So whatever those limiting beliefs are, examine the cost of those limiting beliefs. And then if you don't like the cost, if you want to make a change right now, you can totally give yourself permission to make a change, create some new beliefs. And if you're ready to do that, to give yourself permission to create some new beliefs, say yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. And so go ahead and take a moment right now and create at least 2 new beliefs, maybe 3 new beliefs that will take the place of that old limiting belief. And these new beliefs need to align with you walking head up, straight posture, erect posture, heart towards heaven, and walking strongly, powerfully, and confidently on that inspired shortcut. And as you are creating these new beliefs, I invite you to watch what happens to this path as you're creating these new beliefs. In your imagination, go back to that shortcut, that inspired shortcut, that straight path, and see how different it looks because of these new beliefs. And know that this change happened only because you made a change in thought, you made a change in belief. And it's just changing a belief can create a physical change in you and in your environment. You know, Laura has often mentioned that your environment is part of your soul, that your thoughts, your beliefs, your mind, your heart, all of these are pieces of your soul and also your environment. And that as you change your belief system, you immediately change your surroundings. Go ahead and take one more deep breath. And again, now that you have these new beliefs, I invite you to gather them up, bring them into your heart, and allow yourself to be filled up with these new beliefs. And then now take those steps along that path, on that shortcut, whatever that one most important thing for you to do today. That's going to go at the top of your list. And just like on the $35,000 list, you work on that until it's done. Check it off and then move on to the next. If it takes you all day to do it, that's the only thing that you do. If you don't get it done today, it's the first thing you do tomorrow. That's the $35,000 list. 6 most important things list. So that one thing, priority 1. And as soon as we're done with this call, to get started on it, commit to get started on that. In a moment, I'm going to invite you to come back to the present. And if there's anybody that has something that they would like to share about their experience, I'd like to give you some time to do that. While you're gathering your thoughts, I just want to offer to anyone, if you are needing some help with walking on this straight path, or just, feeling like your limiting beliefs are a little bit overwhelming for you, or the things that you have to do are overwhelming for you and you're not sure how to get out of that, I would love to have a conversation with you. And all you have to do is just go to askwylene.com, and that will take you directly to my calendar, and you can schedule a 15-minute call, a free mentoring session, 15 minutes. So thank you, everybody, for being here and participating in our call today. Who has something that they would like to share about their experience? Kathy?
I'll share. Sure. So lots was coming up for me on this, like the most inspired steps, and realizing in the past when we've talked about shortcuts, that had a negative connotation, because it felt like, well, if you're trying to cut something short, you're not going to experience the whole experience it's intended to. But the key word for me has always been, since I've really looked at this, inspired. If we're given inspiration to do a thing and we don't do it, what are we missing out on? And we still have an experience, and we might have regret, we might have shame, whatever, but that's still part of the experience, overcoming that and learning whatever it is that we're supposed to learn from that. But so just, and in the chat, that was interesting because I just really felt like most inspired is key. Whatever you're being most inspired to do, if that inspiration is coming from God and we recognize that, and I think that's key too, because we don't always recognize. We think, oh, that was a good idea, but I'm not doing that. Right.
Awesome. Thank you.
But then Tyree was just like, inspired shortcut path might be steeper, but if we're being called to climb that steeper path, that might be the shortcut, and that might be the greatest view at the top. And there's just so much more to it. Like, what is the inspiration? And just there's so much more. My mind is just rolling with that. And I don't always follow those inspired steps. And I'm like, it doesn't matter, you know? And I, as you were talking about the path, and I remembered that Robert Frost poem, the path least taken. And I've often thought about that. It's just like, well, I want to go a little way down both paths. I mean, this one might not, but I want to see. And when we take those tangents, inspired or not, there's always more to see. But are we getting the experience that's meant for me?
I love that. You know, I'm going to share another story, an experience that I had when I was 23 years old. I know a lot of the people that are on this call have served a 2-year Christian mission. And in my religion, that's something that's recommended for young people to do. And at the time for women, it was 23 years old was when you could make that decision to go on a Christian mission and to teach the gospel. And they would, you know, just give you a destination to go to, and you would go. And I had the thought to serve a 2-year Christian mission when I was 23, and I opted not to. And I had often wondered since, you know, what kinds of things I would have learned if I had taken that shortcut, because 2 years, you'll hear as I go through the story, would have been a shortcut. I started instead, I think I was, 21. It was 21, not 23, because it was 23 when I started selling Mary Kay. And that experience, I did that for 20 years. And that experience taught me, I feel, that was kind of like my closure for not taking that opportunity when I was 21, because I felt like I learned everything that I needed that I, you know, could have learned in that 2 years. So it was 10% of my life I could have donated to God and learned all the things that it took me 20 years to learn in Mary Kay. And I don't think anything is ever lost, Kathy. What you're saying about taking the longer path, maybe the scenic route, maybe a little less steep, you're going to learn those things along the way. It might take a lot longer, and it might be a little more, you know, you might have more rockiness over a longer period of time. But those shortcuts is God's way of like tapping you on the shoulder and say, hey, I know you need to learn patience and perseverance. And so if you will take this path, it might be a little bit rougher for a short amount of time, and you'll still get it if you go on this path, you know, because God can take us anywhere from anywhere. But if we are willing to listen to those inspired shortcuts, it always is a little bit scary because we're stepping into something that we've never done before. But if we can step into that and get comfortable with that feeling of the unknown and not call it scary, you know, not feel fear, but just be like, oh, okay, this is going to be different. We'll see where this takes me, and just go forward with confidence. It will be shorter, and you will still get the lessons that you need to get.
So true. I really loved the thought too, that nothing is wasted.
Yeah,
that
for
really
sure.
hit me.
Yep. Awesome. I love it. Colleen says meditation to connect and ponder, taking time to think and write. I'm assuming that's her inspired shortcut today. Thank you. Colleen, did you want to add to that?
I did. I was thinking about when you said about a mission. I really wanted to serve a mission. I was a little bit scared, but I went instead and stayed with my roommate in Pennsylvania, and her brother was, just really, really different. And it took me so much longer than a mission to get to the place where I could just take people the way that they are and love them and be an example, but without any heaviness. And I think that maybe would have taught me that on a mission. I really did want to serve the mission at 21 too. And he got my way a little bit, but it took me a long time though to really just accept where people are and just love them and just let them go on their own path and not let it mean anything about me and not let it mean anything about them to me. Awesome. If they wanted to draw in something, being a stepmother, I think, has taught me more about Christ's love than anything else I could have done. And when they describe the very gates of hell reaching after you, and it will all be for your experience and your gain. That's such a choice that you make. If it's for your gain, it's because you search diligently and you pray and you want to understand what this means and you want God's teaching. And no matter what you go through, it's always leading you to the very best place that you could be. You don't have any of those resistance between any experience that you had. You just take it for what it is and say, you know what? I'm so glad. I am so happy that the Lord chose this way to teach me.
Beautiful. Thank you. And just to kind of finish this up too, I know that wherever we're at right now is perfect. I know that it was so absolutely perfect that the path that I chose was the path that I chose. If I had chosen a different path, I would be in the same place that I am today. I mean, I believe that have been perfectly led. I've made perfect choices. We have to, because we can't go back and make changes. We just have to believe that we're in the perfect spot. But, you had the experience of, wanting to have that charity of being able to love people and possibly could have gotten it on a mission faster. Or, like you said, being a stepmother was it was like, there's no better way that you could have learned that. So anyway, I do know that when we get those inspired shortcuts, if we take action on them, our pathway is easier. And it does shorten the experience and help us gain that, whatever it is that we need to gain quicker. So I encourage you to do that. And I also know that we can be asking every day. So we can take a step on the tangent path, and then tomorrow we can ask, and there will be a shortcut back. So I encourage us all to just be grateful for where we're at and always asking every day and being committed to taking those action steps. Thank you so much. We are at way past the end of our time, so we're going to go ahead and end. Just love you guys. Thank you so much for all that you've shared. We'll look forward to being back together tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And in the meantime, go to our Facebook group, Breakthrough with Gratitude, and share your thoughts. Continue sharing your thoughts there. Thanks, everybody. Love you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, thanks so much for listening. And I encourage you to tune in every day to the Daily Gratitude Call. And the Daily Gratitude Call happens live every weekday morning. I'd love to have you join. So to find out how to join live, go to my website, WileenBenson.com. Thanks for tuning in.